The sound of a suitcase hitting the marble floor was the last thing anyone expected that afternoon. Daniel had been scheduled to return home the following evening, but a cancelled business meeting brought him back 24 hours early. He entered his family's mansion quietly, expecting to surprise his pregnant wife, Emily, with flowers and a smile. Instead, he stopped behind the half-open kitchen door when he heard his mother's cold voice. What he saw next made his heart sink. His wife, 8 months pregnant, was standing alone with tears in her eyes, holding a heavy laundry basket while his mother watched her with folded arms. Daniel froze. For several seconds, he couldn't move. The woman carrying his child looked exhausted, pale, and frightened, while his mother seemed completely indifferent to her condition. The mansion that was supposed to be Emily's home had somehow become a place where she felt like a prisoner. Before we continue, if you believe kindness, second chances, and standing up for someone who cannot defend themselves still matter, please take a moment to like this video, share it with someone who needs to hear this story, and subscribe to Kindness Thread. Your support helps us continue sharing stories that remind us there is still goodness in the world. Daniel had married Emily 2 years earlier. She had never cared about his family's wealth. Before their wedding, she had been working as a kindergarten teacher, living in a small apartment and finding happiness in simple things. Daniel loved that about her. His mother, Victoria, however, had never accepted the marriage. She believed her son should have married someone from a wealthy family, someone who understood the social world she had built around the mansion. She smiled during the wedding photographs, but behind that smile was resentment. When Emily became pregnant, Daniel was overjoyed. He promised to protect her, especially during the difficult final months. But his company soon sent him overseas to handle an urgent business crisis. He reluctantly left, believing his mother would help Emily while he was away. Victoria assured him that she would take care of everything. She did anything but. While Daniel was gone, Victoria slowly turned the mansion into a place of constant humiliation. She criticized Emily for eating too much, complained whenever she rested, and reminded her that she was living under Victoria's roof. She insisted Emily help with household tasks despite her growing pregnancy. Even when Emily's feet became swollen and her doctor advised her to rest, Victoria treated the medical advice as an excuse. Emily never told Daniel the truth. Every night, she started typing messages explaining what was happening, but she deleted them before sending. She feared becoming the reason Daniel fought with his mother. She also knew how much Daniel respected his family, and she couldn't bear the thought of tearing him away from the woman who had raised him. So she endured quietly. That afternoon, however, everything changed. Daniel watched as Victoria ordered Emily to carry another basket of clothes upstairs. Emily placed one trembling hand beneath her stomach and tried to lift it. Daniel immediately stepped through the doorway and took the basket from her hands. His sudden appearance silenced the room. Emily stared at him as if she were seeing someone from a dream. Her eyes filled with tears, but she quickly looked away, ashamed that he had discovered her suffering. Victoria tried to explain that Emily had misunderstood everything, claiming she was simply teaching her daughter-in-law responsibility. But Daniel didn't argue. He looked around the kitchen, then at the pile of chores waiting for Emily, and finally at his wife's tired face. He realized that the problem wasn't one bad afternoon. It had been happening for months. Daniel gently helped Emily sit down and asked whether she was all right. She nodded automatically, the same way she had probably nodded every time someone asked her that question. But Daniel noticed the way her hands were shaking. Then he noticed something else. On the kitchen counter was a small notebook. He opened it and found pages filled with appointments, grocery lists, household chores, and reminders. Between them were tiny sentences Emily had written to herself: "Don't complain. Daniel is busy. Everything will be okay. Just get through today." Daniel's eyes became wet. His wife had been carrying more than their child. She had been carrying fear, loneliness, and the desperate need to keep peace inside his family. For the first time, Daniel understood that his absence had allowed someone else to hurt the person he had promised to protect. That evening, he took Emily to a quiet bedroom on the other side of the house and stayed beside her. He told her she had never needed to earn her place in the family through chores, obedience, or silence. She was his wife, the mother of their child, and a person deserving of respect. Victoria stood outside the room and heard everything. At first, she felt angry. She had spent her entire life believing that discipline was the same thing as strength. She had raised Daniel to be successful, independent, and tough. Somewhere along the way, she had forgotten that strength without kindness could become cruelty. But then Daniel showed her the notebook. Victoria read the pages silently. Her expression changed. She reached the final page and saw a sentence Emily had written just days earlier. "I hope someday Mom will love this baby, even if she doesn't love me." Those words broke something inside Victoria. For months, she had convinced herself that Emily was trying to take her son away. Yet Emily had never wanted to take Daniel away from anyone. She had only wanted to become part of the family. Victoria finally understood that she had been fighting an enemy who never existed. The next morning, something unexpected happened. Victoria entered Emily's room carrying breakfast. She placed the tray beside her and stood quietly for a moment, struggling to find the right words. She admitted that she had been unfair, controlling, and cruel. She didn't ask Emily to forget everything immediately. Instead, she promised that from that day forward, she would earn forgiveness through her actions. And she did. She took over the household chores. She accompanied Emily to her medical appointments. She prepared meals and learned how to care for her pregnant daughter-in-law. Most importantly, she stopped treating love like something that had to be earned. Weeks later, Emily gave birth to a healthy baby girl. When Victoria held her granddaughter for the first time, tears rolled down her cheeks. Daniel watched from beside the bed as his mother whispered a promise to the tiny child that she would grow up surrounded by kindness, not fear. Emily watched them quietly. The family wasn't suddenly perfect. Some wounds needed time. Some memories could not disappear overnight. But forgiveness had finally found a place where resentment had lived for too long. Daniel learned something he would never forget: protecting someone doesn't always mean fighting loudly. Sometimes it means noticing the silence of the person you love, asking what they have been carrying, and having the courage to stand beside them when the truth finally comes out. If this story touched your heart,